This is just going to be a short video on shifting your energetic frequency into a higher vibration. So it's kind of going to be like my explanation of what it means to shift your energetic frequency. And yeah, because I think sometimes it can sound like something that's impossible to do. And when we see these other beings who have already raised their vibration to this higher state and have expanded their consciousness in a way that we haven't yet, it can seem like they're on a whole nother plane. It can feel like they're above you in some way, and it can feel like they're at this place that you can never reach. But it's because they've already done the work to get there. They've already been through all the negative stuff that has been in their energetic bodies, and they've manifested themselves into a higher state of being, which we tend to associate this higher state of being often as being above us, because it feels like they're above you when someone is in a higher vibrational state. But you can also sense when someone's very humble about being in that vibrational state. So I definitely find myself looking up to people and feeling like, wow, they're in a higher state of being. I feel like I'm looking up to them, but it's because energetically they're in a higher vibrational state than I am. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily better or worse than me or you. It's just a state of being. It's a perspective. So when you shift your energy, you're actually shifting the way that you're perceiving the world. And everyone perceives the world very differently. So first of all, you're not going to perceive higher vibrational states of being necessarily the same as your friend, and vice versa. So I also really think comparing ourselves to each other is not going to necessarily tell you what vibrational state you're in, because everyone's going to experience it very differently. And some are going to experience it more similarly, but it's still your own experiences that have led up to the way that you're experiencing this moment right now. So I'm trying to put this all into words, and it's kind of hard, but the best way I can describe it is as you raise in vibration, you're changing the perspective that you have. So let's take an example of someone who has a glass of water and they feel that it's like the glass half full or half empty type of mentality. So kind of when you're in, I guess, a third dimensional state of being, you might more often feel like the glass is half empty. And other times, people who are still in a third dimensional state of being might say that the glass is half full, but that can just be a way for them to avoid their own inner demons and their inner problems. So sometimes people are overly optimistic to cope for feeling pessimistic within, and sometimes people are pessimistic because they don't feel good about themselves within. Either way, when you're in a third dimensional state of being, there's a lot of illusion, and there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of stuff that's keeping you from seeing from, I guess, a more expansive point of view, and seeing from a place that's more detached and less like this is happening to you, but more that it's happening to your avatar or your the being that you have chosen to incarnate into but it's also happening for you. And the thing is that there's so many different perspectives that you can take, and as you raise in frequency, expand your consciousness, the perspective that you're taking is seeing from many different perspectives and seeing that there's so many different perspectives out there. It's like opening yourself up from a very narrow point of view to a point of view that's able to see multiple different pathways and multiple different perspectives at once. And at first this can feel very confusing and very like, what? Oh my gosh, there's so many ways to see the world. But I also think as you expand your consciousness, you're also expanding your energetic frequency so that you're able to take in all of these different perspectives, and you're more open to the possibility that everyone can have their own truth. And in a way, just because someone is stuck in a 3D consciousness, that doesn't mean what they're going through isn't true and real, and that their perspective isn't true and real, because it's true for them. And that's something that I really advocate, because I've definitely had people discount my point of view a lot, because it's very out there, and I remember being different higher dimensional beings and experiencing being on different dimensions, but that's the body that I chose to incarnate into, and that's the experience that I chose to have, is to remember those memories. And not everyone chooses to remember that kind of stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that either of us are right or wrong. If you don't believe that those higher dimensional experiences are possible, that's your experience, and that's totally fine. So, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent a little bit. But back to this vibrational state, raising in vibration, it is very possible for you to expand your consciousness and get to a place of remembering more of who you are and seeing from many more different perspectives. And a lot of that takes stepping out of this judgment state of being. So when we judge people, we're seeing them from a very narrow point of view. It's a very restrictive way of viewing the world, is to judge people. And when you judge others, that's a perfect example. Anytime you notice yourself judging others, that is a sign that you're stuck in a third dimensional point of view, or fourth dimensional. And we want to get to the 5D to get to this state of bliss and expansiveness and raise the vibration of this planet. So let's see. So I'm not going to get into describing the dimensions too much yet, other than just that they're different ways of perceiving the world. But it's just important to notice where you're judging people. That's really what I'm trying to get at, and that's what I think that is really important, is to notice that within yourself, and not to judge yourself either. You count as a person too, not just everyone, but like not everyone around you, but yourself too, because you deserve that compassion, and you deserve the love and acceptance just as much as everyone else. And actually, if you're judging others, it's most likely because you're judging yourself. And so by bringing in that self-acceptance, and I honestly see it as this like little ball of yarn that's in this big knot as being kind of like the ego, and everyone's yarn is maybe a different color, and it's in a totally different, unique knot depending on what their experience is and what body they've incarnated into. And so the only way that you can raise your frequency and break free of these lower dimensional thought patterns that are restricting you from a place of bliss and higher vibrations is to unravel that knot, that yarn knot, is to go through, look at every single piece that's causing it to be intertwined with itself and pull it out. And sometimes it's traumatic, sometimes there's trauma in there, sometimes there's deep-seated emotions, and sometimes there's just annoyances with people, and it's all, whatever denser energy it is, that's what keeps things tight and like denser. And I guess I visualized it as this yarn, because when you unravel the yarn, once you're in this blissful state of being, there's not going to be a single knot in there, and you're just going to be zenned out. That was just kind of a vision that came to me recently, and I'm not sure if that made the most sense, but it felt like it was something that maybe I could share with you guys. So, wow, this kind of went on a bunch of different tangents, and it was just kind of a lot of different ideas that kept coming to me, and I felt like they needed to be shared. So yeah, I'm practicing channeling things while I'm making videos, just to see if it, how it goes. Okay, well, I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I'm sending you guys lots of love and light. Peace.